heinous crime that wasn't motivated by hate. And there is now a diktat from the Home Office stating that the investigation of hate crimes must be prioritised over the investigation of other crimes. And of course, hate is being used as a tool by politically correct thinkers. In this case, politically correct thinkers at the British College of Policing. And these people have come up with what they call the 5 monitored strands of hate crime. And essentially, these monitored strands are brackets which a hate crime can fall into. And they are 1. Disability, 2. Race, 3. Religion, 4. Sexual orientation, 5. Transgender. I believe they are listed in alphabetical order, as listing them in importance may be construed as a hate crime in itself by some. Now, I took this information from the British College of Policing's document titled Hate Crime Operational Guidance. As always, it's linked in the description below, and this is one document that all nationalists in the UK want to download and digest, so you get a full grasp of how crime and policing have been politicised. And as you will soon see, policing these so-called hate crimes is very subjective rather than objective. The first worrying thing to take from this document is the following, and I quote, "There is no criminological consensus on the definition or even the validity of the concept of hate crime, but it is important that this policy has a framework." End quote. And yes, you did hear that correctly. There is no consensus on either the definition or the concept of a hate crime. Yet despite how inconclusive the first part of that sentence was, the sentence concludes that there must be a framework for dealing with hate crime, despite hate crime not even being properly defined or even considered valid by some legal experts. At this point, if I hadn't provided the link to the document this comes from, many people would actually think that this was too insane to be real. But prepare to go down the rabbit hole even further, as it all gets much worse. The Hate Crime Operational Guidance then goes on to state, and I quote, "Hate crimes and incidents are taken to mean any crime or incident where the perpetrator's hostility or prejudice against an identifiable group of people is a factor in determining who is victimized." End quote. So the first thing to note is there are 2 different groupings here, a hate crime and a hate incident. Both are defined in a very similar manner. However, a hate incident is, and again I quote from the document, a non-crime incident that is motivated by the perpetrator's hostility or prejudice against an identifiable group of people. End quote. And that in itself sets a very worrying precedent. The police are investigating and cataloguing non-crime incidents based on perceived prejudices, which then goes on to beg the question, where is that information stored and who has access to it? In layman's terms, people who haven't broken the law but may have said something the state deems politically incorrect are now being placed on police databases so presumably the state can monitor them. And this